Hi, my name is Shea Akelede. I'd like to welcome you to my CCNA training. In this training, I'd like to show you how you can move your VLANs across switches using VTP. Now, in my previous video, I spoke about how you can create VLANs on a switch. So, in this video, I'll be showing you how you can move those VLANs from one switch to another switch using a concept called VTP. Now, what does VTP mean? From looking at my class note here, I have a couple of things that I want us to look at before we dive into the configuration. So number one says what is VTP and why do we need it? Now VTP means virtual trunking protocol. We need a virtual trunking protocol so we can advertise VLANs from one switch to the other. Now let's look at this scenario. Now if you have let's say you have 4 different switches in your organization and you created VLANs. Now you've created them one on each switch. You want to create VLANs, and they have to be the same VLANs across all the switches. Now what that means is that you have to go into each switch to keep creating VLANs and all that, assign interface on all those switches and all that. So what VTP helps us to do is that VTP helps us cut off those stress by recreating a VLAN on one switch, and using VTP we can advertise our VLANs on one switch across all the VLANs, across all the switches in our infrastructure. So that's the reason why we need VTP. And VTP also works on a trunking port, because in switching you can only carry switching VLANs on trunk ports. So if your port is not trunked, then you'll be able to advertise VLANs from one switch to the other. Now VTP operates in 3 modes. It will operate in server mode, client mode, and transparent mode. Now with the client mode, what that means is that you can't create any VLANs. If you have a switch on the client mode, you can't create any VLANs. All you can only do is to view the VLANs you have, because the VLANs is being automatically created from the server mode. So the server mode is the mode where you create all the VLANs you want on your switch, and you advertise it on all the VLANs on all the other switches. So the switches that are in that VLAN, the switches that you want to advertise the VLANs to must be in the client mode. So that means that I'm creating all my VLANs on server mode and I'm advertising them to all other my other clients. And one other thing we also need to remember is that they must be on the same domain. So that means that the server and the client, just the same way you have your Microsoft relationship in Active Directory, all your clients must be in the same domain for them to communicate with each other. So that means that if I have a server and I have a client, they must be in the same domain for my VTP to really work. So now the third one is the transparent mode. Transparent mode, what it only does is that it only receives the VLAN advertisement and transposes straight to the next switch. So that means that if I have a switch on the transparent mode, that means that my VLANs is moving from one mode to the other, and it doesn't keep a database of the VLAN. So that means that if I'm creating a VLAN in transparent mode, it won't be on I won't have a database of that particular VLAN. So that means that if I shut down the server, if I shut down that switch is gone, all the VLANs are gone. Then also it helps us to create having transparent mode helps us to create extended VLANs. Now there are 2 ranges of VLAN. This is a standard range starting from 1 to 1005, and extended VLANs start from 1 to 4096. So these are the 2 things, 2 standards, 2 types of VLANs that we could create. So the next one says, what is a DTP? DTP means dynamic trunking protocol. It's a trunking protocol that allows a switch to automatically negotiate for trunking. Now on this automatically negotiates force a port on another switch and participate in trunking. Now in every switch port has the capability to do 2 things. Number one, to be an access port, and also to be a trunk port. Now if you negotiate, if a switch is an access port, that means that it's going to forward frames. You can forward your frames from one port to the other. But if it's a trunk port, that means that you're dedicating that port for trunking purposes. So that means that I can only carry VLANs along that particular interface. I can't use that interface to participate in my daily switching and all that. So what DTP does is that it enables ensure that it allows other interface to participate in DTP. So let me use this simple scenario. If now by default every switch is configured to every switch by default is on the trunk mode by default. So I'm going to show you how that works. Okay, let me just quickly show you on this switch. Okay, let me show you an interface. Show switch ports. Sorry, switch ports interface FA01. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be switch in the show interface FA01 switch ports. Okay, so look at this. So it says that negotiate on trunking on administrative mode is dynamic auto. So that means that if I have a port on this my server switch and it's configured into trunking, so that means that automatically this other interface on my switch will also be converted to a trunk port. So that's why it says automatic administrative mode dynamic auto. Operational mode is in static. So by operation mode is in static, but for administrative purposes it can automatically negotiate for trunking. So that means that by default it operates at static, but when it comes to for trunking, automatically it's always is put on a dynamic mode. So that means that it automatically negotiate for trunking. So that's that about DTP. So that means that if I have this server, if I have an interface 12 here configured on trunk, so that means that automatically this interface 12 here will be on the trunk mode because of the DTP that's already configured on the switch by default. So what is the difference between DTP and VTP? It says the VTP advertises VLAN across a trunk port, while DTP forces the switch port to participate in trunking. So that they both perform the same thing. The fact that I have DTP does not mean that that port can be trunked. It just simply says the mode at which the port is being trunked. Okay, that's what DTP is basically all about. So before I move into the configuration of VTP, I'm going to talk about tips to remember on VTP and DTP. Now, VTP carries multiple VLANs across the trunk port. VTP operates in 3 modes: server mode, client mode, and transparent mode. I said for server mode, you can create VLANs, add VLANs, delete VLANs in server mode. For client mode, you can't create or delete VLANs. All you just need to do, all it does is that it keeps the database of the VLAN. Then for transparent mode, it won't keep the database, it will only transport it allows you to create allows you to create extended VLANs. So that means that I can only create extended VLAN, then it only moves my VLANs from one switch to the other. It doesn't keep a database of that particular VLAN. So DTP can be removed from all interfaces by using a switch port no negotiate command. I'm going to show you how you can do that. And also when using VTP, all the switches must be in the same VTP domain. I must also have the same password. That means if I set domain password on my VTP, they all have to be on the same password. So I'm going to dive in now into how you can configure VTP and remove DTP from a switch. Okay, so firstly what we're going to do is that we're going to create 3 different VLANs, okay, on this switch. I'm going to name this switch as server, and I'm going to name this switch as my client switch. This as server, this as client. So what I'm going to do is that on this server client, I'm going to create 3 different VLANs. Okay, I'm going to trunk my interface port, also trunk this interface port. Then what I'm going to do is that by the time I create, I'm going to create my VTP domain and ensure that my server and my client are on the same domain. Then let's see what VTP does. Okay, so let's dive into our switch. I'm now moving to my switch 1. Okay, so we say we're going to create 3 VLANs: VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and VLAN 30. Okay, so configure conft, change my host name to server. Okay, I'm good. So I go into my VLAN mode, VLAN 10, name accounting, if I'm correct, accounting, VLAN 20, name as sales, Sorry, let me just verify. Name and sales. Okay. VLAN 20, name and sales. Name and sales. VLAN 30. Name as management. Okay. Management. Okay, so we're good. So now what I introduce as interfaces to those VLAN. So I exit from my VLAN mode. I move into my interface mode. For VLAN. Okay, let me quickly check to show IP interface brief to check to see the VLANs that interface that are up. Okay, 1, 2, 3 hub 1, 2, 3, 12, right? Yes. Okay, so my interface 1 is for accounting, interface 2 is for sales, interface 3 is for management. So I go interface FA0/1. So I do my switch port mode access. Okay, so I'm configuring this interface as access. So I do my switch port mode, switch port access VLAN 10. So I do the same thing for interface 02 FA02 and switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 20. Do for my last interface FA03 switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 30. Okay, so that's fine. So another thing I need to add is that you can add more than one. Okay, you can add one or more than one interface to a particular VLAN. You don't have to go by interface. So to quickly, I just want to show you how to do that. I just do interface range FA01. So the interface you want to add to, let's say 5. So that means that I'm adding interface 1 to 5. That's what it means. So let me say, let's do interface let's just say 15 to 17. Just to show you that FA0 15 to 17. So that means I'm adding, oh, okay, let me leave my interface mode. Okay, so I do int range FA0/15 to 17. So that means I'm adding interface from 15. I'm adding interface 15, 16, and 17 to a particular VLAN. So let me just really add that as a bonus. Switch port mode, yeah, access. Okay, so I do switch port access VLAN 40. Okay, so I've created VLAN 40. So to check all my VLANs now, just to do show VLAN brief. Okay, so I have all my VLANs now. If you see, I have accounting, sales, and management. So these are the interfaces that are those VLANs. Okay, so what that means is that accounting has VLAN interface 1, sales has interface 2, management. So these are the ranges I said I added at the same time. So I added 15, 16, and 17 all at once into VLAN 40. Okay, so the next thing I need to do now is to configure my trunk port. So I do interface FA0/12. I want to use that as my trunk port. Now before I do that, let me quickly go to my server client and configure something on my switch. So I want to disable VTP. So let me quickly do that on this interface before I move into trunking. So conft switch ports. Let me quickly change my host name first. Host name client. Okay, so interface FA0/10. So I do a switch ports no negotiate. So that means that so that means that I want to remove the DTP on this interface. So it says conflict between no negotiate and dynamic status. Okay, I think there was something I need to remove it from dynamic status first. So I do my switch ports. Okay, so I have to do okay. Okay, mode has to be set to dynamic. So it's because it's on a dynamic set tracking method. No, I don't want it to be tension open. I want a no negotiate. Yeah, so it's not meant to negotiate. Command rejecting conflict between no negotiate and dynamic status. Okay, because it's in dynamic. Okay, I have to change the status to status to access before I can change it to no negotiate. Okay, so I do switch port mode. Okay, you know what, let me leave it at this stage because I'm going to configure chunk on this interface, so there's no need for me to do that, but I'll do it for the other interfaces. Okay, so let me just do for switch ports, let me do exit and do switch. So let me go into my interface range and range FA0 FA0/1 to 9. Okay, so I make it an access mode, switch port mode, access. Okay, so I remove it, so now I can do my switch ports. So I can do my switch port no negotiate now. Okay, so it's fine now. So let me do for 11 to 24. So FA0 exit first. So I do exit interface FA0/11 interface range, interface range FA0/11 to 24. Okay, so I do my switch port mode access. What I want is I want this mode to be configured mainly for access, so that I can configure trunk port on it. So I do my switch, so it won't negotiate for trunking. So switch port no negotiate, so that means that they won't negotiate for trunking. So the only interface that negotiates for trunking is my FA10, my 10 interface. So let me exit from that. So I type my interface FA010 and configure switch port, and then switch port mode trunk. Okay, so I've configured it for trunking. Okay, so I do my exit. Let me just quickly check my do show VLAN brief. Let me see what I have. Okay. Okay, so I do show interface FA0/10 switch ports. Okay, so mode is trunking, operational mode is down, enabled, switch port enabled, operational mode is down, operational mode is down. Okay, I'm switching to trunking mode. Okay, operational trunking, yes. Okay, so what I need to do is to go to my other interface and configure it for trunking. Okay, so I go to my sorry, it's interface 12. Sorry, that was wrong. Okay, exit conf interface FA0/12. Okay, so I do my switch ports mode, switch port mode trunk. Okay, so it's up now. So it's up. It's up. Okay, so okay, so I've done that. So let me quickly do show interface FA012 switch ports. Okay, so it's operational mode. Negotiate for trunking is off, so I need to negotiate it for trunking. So interface FA012. So I do my no switch ports, no negotiate. Okay, so I go back to verify my interface. Okay, let me see. Okay, so it's trunking now. So it's saying negotiation for trunking is on. Okay, so let me go back to let me save my configuration. Do WR. Sorry about that. Do WR. Okay, so do my N WR save configuration. Okay, so I come back to my interface mode and I ensure that my interface 12. So on the other one, because this interface is already negotiated for trunking, so because I've trunked my first port on my client, so it's already configured. So if I do show interface trunk here, you see that the interface is already trunked. Do show. Okay, sorry, I didn't add the show command to show interface trunk. Okay, it hasn't been configured. Okay, so I do conv so I do interface FS012. So I do my switch ports. Switch port mode chunk. Okay, so the interface is already chunked now. So to check the interface that is chunked, just type do show interface chunk. Okay, so it shows that it's chunked. It's using 802.1 kill chunking encapsulation mode. Okay, so let me do my exit. Let me check my other server here if it's the same now. So I do my show interface chunk. Okay, so we're on the same page now. We're good to go on that. So next thing to do is to configure my VTP modes on both servers, on both switches. So I do my conv I do VTP mode clients. Okay, so it's now setting device to VTP mode client. So like I said, on a VTP client mode, you can't create VLANs on VTP client mode. So let me create a VLAN just to verify that. Okay, so I do VLAN 10. You see, VTP configuration not allowed when device is in client mode. So I can't create a VLAN in client mode. So I do exit. So let me go to my VLAN to my server mode now. Okay, so on my server mode, I do exit. So I turn this by default. Every switch is on the server mode. So that means that for the other mode, you have to configure it for this other mode. So to do that, let me just show you how the mode that this server is on. So I do show VTP mode. Okay, exit. Show VTP mode. Show VTP status. Sorry. Show VTP status. So it's showing me the status is the server mode. Okay, so you see that we've not configured the domain name here because we've not configured the DTP domain name. So what we need to do is to configure the VTP domain name, and it automatically moves all my servers to all the same domain. So on this client, let's verify the VLANs. Let's see if we have any VLANs already. Show VLAN brief. Okay, so you see we don't have any VLAN at the moment. I just wanted to verify that. So what I need to do is that I need to join this to a domain VTP mode conv. So I do VTP domain. Let me use cisco.com. I can do Cisco. So I've created my VTP domain. So I do the same thing here on my server mode. Conv VTP mode, VTP domain, Cisco So they have to be on the same VTP domain. That's very important. Okay, so before I configure my password, so let's see on the other side if my VLANs has already been moved to my other machine, my other server. So I do show VLAN brief. Okay, you see we have our VLANs now, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, and management VLAN. So on this VLAN, all we just need to do is just to assign interfaces. It won't assign the interface for us. Okay, so we have to be the one to assign the interface on those VLANs. So let me quickly assign interface to this VLAN so I can quickly do 1 or 2 pings for this VLAN. So okay, so I need to add my VLAN. So I do interface. Let me quickly do that. Interface range FA01 to 2. So I do my switch ports mode access, and I do my switch ports access VLAN 10. Okay, so I do the same thing for interface. This is on interface. What's this? Let me check the interface that it's on. Do show IP interface brief. Okay, so I've used interface 1 and 2. Okay, so the next is 6. The next is 20. Next is 6. Next is 20 and 21. Okay, so I do my exit. So I do my interface FA0/6. I do my switch ports mode access. So switch ports access VLAN 20. Okay, so I do interface 10 and 12, interface 20 and 22. Now interface range FA0/20 to 22. So I do my switch ports mode access. Okay, I do my switch port access VLAN 30. That's my management VLAN. Okay, so I do my do show VLAN brief. Okay, so I have my VLANs now. I've added interfaces in those VLANs. Okay, so we're good to go now. So what I need to do is that now with this, what VTP does is that means that from my VLAN structure here, I can ping from accounting VLAN and this server. I can ping this server. I can ping the pieces on this other VLAN. So that what I'm trying to say is that VLANs can ping each other. I can, from my VLAN 10 on switch 1, I can ping my client machine on the same VLAN. So what I just need to do is assign interfaces to it, and we try it out, and we're done. Okay, so my VLAN 10, I've actually subnetted the network into 8 networks. So remember from my previous VLAN video, I talked about that each VLAN will be on a separate network. Okay, so this is on network 10.0 network. So let me quickly assign IP address to it. Okay, 192.168.10.3. My subnet mask is 27. That's 224. My subnet, my gateway is 192. I just didn't add any gateway, but let me just add it to it. 192.168.10.1 because we don't have a router, but let me still add it to it. Let me just do for VLAN 10. Okay, so I had 192. Remember they're on different networks, but I can ping them because of the VTP and because they're on the same VLANs. So 192.168 .10.98 because I'm picking from the subnet 98. So I do 224. So 192.168.10.97 as my gateway. Okay, so let me do 90. I use 98 here, so let me use 99 here. Okay, 192.168.10.99 224 192.168.10.97. Okay, so let me try this out. Let me just quickly add one to this and one to this so that we can quickly try that out, and the rest is just history, like they say. 168.10.30. Let me use 34 here. Still the same subnet mask. 192.168.10.33. Okay, so I do the same thing here. Remember that there are different networks. Okay, so this is on network 128. So I did 192.168.10.130. I'm using 130. So I'm using 129 as my default gateway. So 224.192.168.10.129. Okay, so we're good. We've configured our two VLANs. So from VLAN 10, now let me ping this network .97.98. So go to my command prompt and ping 192.168.10.98. Okay, I should have a ping reply. Should have a ping reply now. Okay, let's wait. Should have a ping reply. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I think the reason is because they're on different networks. Okay, they're on different networks, but they should still be able to ping each other. Let me see what we have here. Let me see if the IP address is correct. 98. Okay. 98. I guess basically it's because I'm using a different network, so that's the reason. Okay, let me change this one to .4. Let me change it to .4. Let me see. Just let me try to ping it now. Okay, so I'm having a reply. So the reason why I'm not having that reply is because they're on different network ID. So for them to communicate, I'll need to use inter-VLAN routing. Okay, but notwithstanding, I've been able to ping from this. So let me see if I can ping from. Let me ping another host. Let me see if I can ping from VLAN 1 to VLAN see, I can see ping VLAN 20. VLAN 20 is 130. No, the host is different. The host is different. Okay, let me use 5. Let me use 5 here. Let's see. Let me use 5 here. Let me use the same gateway. Okay, so let's see if I'll be able to ping it from 1. But they're on different VLANs. Let's be mindful of that. So let me ping .5 now. I shouldn't be able to ping .5 because they're on 2 different VLANs. They shouldn't be able to ping 5 because they're on 2 different VLANs. Okay, so yeah, it's timing out. Yes, so that means it worked fine. Okay, I think I've been able to demonstrate to you how you can configure your VLANs, how you can configure your VTP. But quickly, before I round off, let me quickly show you how you can view your VTP configuration. So we can do, just to do show VTP status. Okay, so it's showing us the VTP status, saying that they're on the same domain and all that. I didn't add password to it, so it's just to configure password. I just need VTP password. Let's use cisco.com. So I've configured my password. So I need to go to my client and add another password to it and add a password to it as well. So I do my VTP password Cisco. Okay, so I do my end. So to show my password, I just show VTP password. Okay, cisco.com. So by showing my VTP status, I won't view the password. It's only when I do my VTP mode, my VTP configure show my VTP password. That's when I can view the password. So I'd like to thank you for viewing this video. I hope this video is very informative for you. Please feel free to ask me any questions. What I just did in this class was I just tried to do a little bit of summary, take away all technicalities, and just give you the basic thing that you need to know on VTP mode and DTP, how you can configure VTP, how you can configure trunking, how you can configure the 3 modes in VTP and all that. So I didn't bore you with a lot of technicalities. So I believe that if you read your CCNA books from Cisco Press, you would get to understand all the basic technicalities. But I just did this to show you one of the things you need to know, how you can configure it on your Cisco switches, and how to test it so that you can see how it works. So thank you very much once again. My name is Shey Akedude, and thank you for viewing. Have a nice day.